Does something hurt?
No,
Or does your soul hurt?
everything hurts.
Everything hurts. Your last name. So you are also on Russian territory,
Yes.
turns out. So, well, let's start with you then. Tell your story. I understood about the accident. They told you to mobilize. You're mobilized. You signed this contract, right? They gave you a bunch of payments. Were you satisfied?
No, I only received 100,000, but they also promised 400. And
They are now promising you such large payments.
here in the Astrakhan region, they don't promise that kind of money. They gave 500,000.
Did
and
they
that's
give
it.
you 500?
Well, I received 100, and when they came in, they transferred 400, but it wasn't on the account yet.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I'll have to ask my wife.
Uh-huh. Next. What happened next?
Well, we were in training for 7 days, and I saw a machine gun there for the first time. Well, I haven't learned much.
Well, did you at least shoot a couple of horns at the
When
shooting
we
range?
were training, there wasn't a lot of ammunition for a machine gun, but we were allowed to shoot 3 times. We shot very little, to at least understand how to use the machine
How
gun.
is it that there were no cartridges?
Well, there wasn't a gun that shoots shot.
Why do you need a gun that shoots shotguns?
We had to undergo training that drones can only be shot down with shot.
Ah, like that. But there was no bird shot.
There wasn't.
Did you fire with a Kalashnikov assault rifle?
We had AK-12.
Yep. Got it. So, further?
Then we transferred 7 days after we arrived for training. More than 100 people were taken away at night. Then 21 of us were sent to Storm 79. Then we were given ammunition and sent to the village of Zhuravlyovka. They say that we are still a reserve.
As I understand it, while you were in Zhuravlyovka, you were preparing for an attack.
No, we were divided into sections and we only had to go through the points.
Well, this settlement, Zhuravlyovka, why were you brought there? For what purpose? Either they were afraid that we would attack, or they were going to attack themselves.
We were told to simply hold Zhuravlyovka and wait until the main forces that would hold this territory arrived. A man led us, and according to the order, we reached the first point. Then we reached the second point. We spent the night in the cellar. In the morning, we realized that no one was getting in touch. We moved there, and the shooting started.
It turned out that it worked out. Understood.
Yes.
How did you get captured?
Fulfilled the order.
Tell us a specific situation so that you can see with your own eyes how it happened.
I followed the squad leader. He's very experienced fighter.
So, where were you going?
We walked to the next point, 2 hours, and it turned out that they fired at us. He was wounded 2 or 3 times, and I was wounded once in the side. I immediately laid down because there was already a drone flying overhead, and shouted in your language, not in Russian. They shouted, don't move, or we'll throw a grenade. And the 2 who walked behind, they...
Did they shout in Russian?
At first in Russian, we saw that we're allies. We started shouting the code word, winter, but it turned out that they were not our allies.
Not that winter.
Yes. And the 2 who followed us, covered us, they simply ran away. They abandoned us. It turns out that Alexei, the squad commander, died here.
Died in a bottle?
No, here in the hospital.
In the hospital. What injury did
It
he
looks
have?
like his spleen was shot.
He was wounded, they tried to help him, they brought him here to the hospital, but he still didn't survive, right?
We were informed that he had died.
Well, it's war.
Yes, war.
There was no need to go to war. No one would have shot at anything. Ours, of course, are great. They set up an ambush. You turned out to be an easy target, right? You don't even understand what happened.
We were told that there were no soldiers there and only drones to fear.
Well done. Which brigade took your prisoner?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, it's not important. And in short, the commander was wounded, and you?
Well, I was wounded in the stomach, so it turns out that I was also immediately
In arm,
wounded.
yes?
No, in the stomach.
Ah, in the stomach. I understand, yes. You have been captured. Did you see NATO soldier, Nazis, or something like what your propaganda is talking about?
No, I only saw soldiers and they lead us through the forest. I saw Ukrainians.
This is the Ukrainian armed forces, the armed forces of
that's
Ukraine.
true. I didn't see anyone else beside them.
Why do they say on TV that we have Nazis here? Were the Nazis trying to save the wounded you and the commander?
I didn't see any Nazis.
Didn't see. Do you think they exist?
Well, they say one thing on TV, but in reality I saw that everything was different. I saw that there were ordinary people here
Yes, there are
fighting
no
for
Nazis
their country.
here. The men here are normal. They are human.
Even when they were taken prisoner, they at least gave us water.
They gave me food, yes.
They talked and treated us
Humanly,
normally.
human communication.
And you, have you even seen the Nazis?
No.
The 1st Assault Brigade took me prisoner.
1st Assault Brigade. Well done, 1st Assault Brigade.
I really thank them for saving my life.
The scouts found me.
How did they found you? Were you lying somewhere?
I was walking.
Now I'll ask everyone. Let's take turns so that I don't forget to ask anyone. Your family hasn't responded yet. Well, wait, maybe they will. So please tell me how you got here.
On July 25, 2024, I signed the contract. On the 31st, we were sent by military plane to Rostov.
Yeah, to Rostov.
We didn't make it to Rostov. We made an emergency landing and the left engine of the plane caught fire.
Whoa.
We were waiting for another plane and a day later we took off again. We flew to Rostov and buses met us there. 2 buses, there were only 35 of us there. There were many people returning from vacation. They started talking about the war, but I didn't hear anything. I slept the whole way. The flight was difficult. It's very difficult. I have intracranial pressure and my eyes are constantly falling out.
Why are they so? Due to
I have
airplane
had it
turbulence?
since my youth. They hit me here, right here.
I see. It was as if they were trying to punch
Well, I
your
was
head
hit
in.
by a big tree branch. Well, since then there has been pressure.
Trying to steal something.
No, drunken roadie.
Drunk bro.
They simply could not calm me down. I have not drunk alcohol for 5 years. In general, I completely stopped drinking.
Understood.
That's it. We arrived on August 2.
What motivated you? What was your motivation to go to war?
Because of money.
Decided to make
Yeah,
money.
the family is big.
How many children do you have?
3 children.
3.
Plus, my mother-in-law has a big family. Mother-in-law has lawns. I buried my
Would it
mother. I
make you
buried
feel
my
better
father.
if you were killed?
It wouldn't make it any easier for me.
And for them?
It wouldn't make it any easier for them either.
Well, if they send them $1 million for your deaths, would that solve their problems?
No, I'm a fool. Basically, a complete fool. I didn't seem to want to fight, so I decided to try myself.
And you came to war to earn money. I understand. Continue.
On August 2, we were brought to the settlement where the brigades were stationed. Where we were settled, there were 2 guys who had already served in combat. They sat and drank alcohol. I was sitting next to them. I had just come from the store. I went to buy things and food. As soon as I sat down, the military police came.
What locality is this?
Granitnaya.
Granitnaya.
One ran into the house, such a tall military man. He pointed the weapon at me and ordered me to leave the house. I was shocked because I didn't drink. I got up. I and those who drank were taken out of the house, and those who lived there besides us were also taken away. We were all taken out of the house and then put in a prison pit dug in the ground. It was in the village Granitnaya. The next day they loaded me into a truck and brought me to another village. There is already such a real prison there. The locals were kept there.
Why did you get there? What have you done wrong?
I didn't do anything wrong. The deputy for the educational work came. I breathed to him. He said that I was absolutely sober, but they didn't let me go. I was taken away along with those who drank, with those boys. They kept me in prison for 5 days. On August 6th, they brought me back to Granitne, and on the same day I started training at the training ground. Weapon testing was still taking place at the training ground. My machine gun was never shot. The front sight was broken. The machine gun was actually prefabricated. It was collected from several different machines.
What do you mean? Explain to me, since I'm not a military man. How can a machine
Well,
be
it
assembled?
was pulled straight from the battlefield. It was
Yes.
not whole. Many parts have been replaced. The gas chamber lid was said that, moreover, it was placed incorrectly. When I started shooting for the first time, the machine sprang and the lid flew off.
The machine gun was repaired.
The part flew away and I approached the senior sergeant. He spent the day repairing it, but it didn't do it. Another senior sergeant did it. He understood, turned the lid over and assembled the machine gun. On the second day we went to the training ground. I fired and the second cartridge jammed in the barrel. I almost never fired a machine gun, both at the training ground and in combat.
They sent you fight with it, so you have come to terms with the fact that you will be unarmed.
So whatever will be, will be.
This is very Russian.
I didn't go to fight, I didn't go to kill.
But I understand.
I went to stay alive.
Did you already understand where you were at that moment?
I understand. When we stopped at Granitne, I already understood.
Either were not what you imagined.
Everything was completely different.
What did you imagine?
Well, I thought that everything would be the same as when I did my military service.
The war has been going on for 2.5 years, and you haven't asked what's going on? Seriously?
Of course, I don't watch TV.
What difference does it make whether you watch TV or not? You're going to war. Have you thought about what this means?
Well, I listened to eyewitness accounts.
Okay. This is already mobilizing. Tell me more.
On the 28th, we were brought to the deployment point. The settlement is called Olginka. From there, from Olginka, they have already begun to distribute us. At first, we were sitting in the truck. We were not allowed to get out so that the large crowd of people would not be visible.
Uh-huh.
There I was already starting to shake. I began to fully realize where I had ended up.
Why did you suddenly start shaking?
Situation, fear,
Because of what? What caused it?
arrivals, explosions
Uh-huh.
by shelling. I saw the truth when they started transporting me by car from Olginka to the motorcycle base. They brought me to a motorcycle base where I saw burnout cars and motorcycles along the road, and I smelled the first corpses there. Well, that's the whole story.
Now tell me more. The smell of corpses, what does it mean? I would like to hear everything in detail.
They brought us in at night. It was dark, but there was a smell, corpse smell, and a constant smell from explosions.
Where were yours?
They were all near me. They were all there.
How many of you were there?
They brought there only 30 people. There were 12 of us, but we were then separated. They had already brought 4 motorcycles to Vladimir on motorcycles with a person on each motorcycle.
Uh-huh.
In general, the first group of 4 of us was sent, taken to the control point, where we began to wait for 4 more. It probably lasted about an hour and a half. We waited for them, and the 8 of us moved on. And for some reason we left the remaining 4 people there, but I don't know why. That's it, we moved on the 28th. We reached the first dugout where they were waiting for us to be transported further.
Were yours waiting for you?
Yes.
What were they supposed to transport you
We
on?
got there on motorcycles and then only on foot.
Did you get there by motorcycle?
3 kilometers, yes, 3 kilometers. We walked about 3 kilometers. This was the location where my company commander was stationed. He led the operation, as I understand it. I don't know, he was distributing something there. We got there, and after that, combat duty and combat watches had already begun.
So, well, what happened there?
It was a complete mess there. We couldn't take a step there because of the drones. 2 cluster shells arrived at once. I was wounded in the arm and it flew into that arm. There was a guy standing in front of me, call sign Petrushka. His eye was knocked out immediately by the first arrival. Right eye, I think.
Dead on the spot?
No, he left. He was given the opportunity to return back and he left. And the 7 of us went. We were assigned a group leader whom I had not seen before. Iron call sign.
Iron?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
He and I walked ahead of everyone. There were 3 of us. Oh, 7. The 4 of us were given the task of reaching the crossroads, going into the trenches, exploring them, and returning back. That is, find out what condition the trench is in, and whether there are fortified firing points. Well, I didn't know, but Iron, he knew that there was a machine gunner sitting to our left at this intersection. He sent us into the trench, 4 of us. He sent us. I sat down, turned around. My comrade, whom I knew from the brigade, was lying behind me.
Uh-huh.
I think the call sign is rough. He was dead, his legs were broken, he was already lying dead, everything was rotting. And a little further, well, the boys there say there were 2 more lying there, he says. Well, I breathed the smell of a corpse for 2 whole
Wait,
hours.
he died a long time ago, right?
Yes.
How long ago?
I don't know how long ago, but face was already black.
Well, of course, the cadaver smell there is already so unbearable,
Yes.
right?
Then we went into the trenches where our machine gunner was sitting. Behind me I heard that our boys are walking through the forest belt. I carefully lean out of the trench and see how they are being killed. First, second, and third.
How?
Drone.
FPV?
Drone.
Or drop?
Drop. Drop, of course, yes.
Drop.
All of them are dead. We didn't know what to do. Iron tried to deceive the commander like we entered, gained a foothold, and the commander shouted that he knew that we were lying, that we were scum. I knew that we were on time.
What? Why was he screaming like
Knew
that?
we were deceiving.
How exactly were you deceiving?
He said that we entered and secured ourselves in the first trench.
Yeah.
But we didn't go in, we didn't
Understood.
even got to the trench yet. I heard everything, but I myself did not communicate on the radio, only Iron communicated. I heard from the outside there were probably 3 or 4 meters between us. I lay there and thought, should I run away, should I go back? But there was no point in running since the commander would shoot him right away. And that's it. We moved on. I had already come to terms with everything that was happening. I think, okay, I'll go ahead, whatever will be, will be. I say goodbye. Send my messages and run. I ran to the tank. There was an armored personnel carrier and a tank. So there is an armored personnel carrier. And on top of it is a tank like this. We climbed on it, 4 of us. One in the middle, the biggest, he was in the middle, I was lying on the edge. I saw all the drones, all the shells that were dropped on us from drones. I was shell-shocked. I began to lose consciousness, look at my hands and they were covered with earth. I barely got them out. There are screams from all sides and no one advanced further. Redhead and I from the next cell were taken prisoner. He and I ran first. I ran along the trench on the left side. I see some kind of hole like a dugout. I run there and there is an imitation of a dugout. The hole is the size of a double bed and decorated from the outside like a dugout. I jumped into it. 2 people jumped after me. The group commander and redhead. And another one ran forward. His call sign was Megavolt. After 4 or 5 minutes, he comes running back to us. It's clear that he tried to shoot himself. We asked, "Did you want to shoot yourself?" He answered yes.
What was the reason
He
for
must
this?
have gotten scared.
So your guys are constantly shooting. Why did they suddenly decide to do the
I
same?
don't know.
There are a lot of videos, drones recording how your soldiers blow their brains out. What's wrong with you guys anyway?
He turned it around and ran back. Buzzing, yes, it hurts morally so much an extent that I want to hide, crawl underground.
And this is because of the drone sounds,
After
right?
the drones dropped explosives on us, I was afraid and shuddered at even the buzzing of a mosquito.
This is war.
He came running to us, then ran away, and I never saw him again. And then our artillery began firing at us.
Why did you decide that
Because
these
there
were
was
yours?
the sound of gunshots from our side. The whistle of shells from our side.
Why would your people kill you?
Who knows? Apparently, this is how they tried to drive us forward on the offensive. We were told,
Do you have any ideas why your guys were shooting at you? Because I have. More precisely, I
think
know.
they were simply getting rid of those who did not follow orders.
They were declared deserters.
It was either for them to get rid of us than to
Yes.
save us. This is,
Now
of
you
course,
have been captured and now you're a problem for them. Now we need to get you out of captivity.
yes.
Now you're sitting with me telling these stories.
I don't hide anything. I say everything honestly.
Yes, I understand, but the point is that this whole situation is unpleasant for
Yeah,
them.
and we're enjoying it.
So if you were destroyed, it would be good for them. No man, no problem. Do you understand why? Here.
We asked for evacuation on the radio. All 3 of us were wounded. It pierced my hand right through.
I see, yes.
In addition to my arm, I also have many fragments in my body and a large chip in my leg. I still injured my legs at the training ground. Very heavy equipment and I could barely walk. My knees and joints were all damaged by the weight of the equipment. I just recently started walking normally. Even if it's normal during the day, my legs started to hurt in the evening. They swell to such an extent that it is no longer possible to walk. My heart began to pound often.
So, how did you end up captured?
So I'm telling you, Iron requested permission to retreat. The company commander shouts, gain a foothold. He says over the communication that we are doing great and now we need to hold our position. In this hole, yes, it will be blown apart now in 3 seconds. While sitting there, this norm was destroyed in half an hour. The roof opens and shell flies in, dropped from a drone and explodes. I have a fragment from it in my finger in my left leg.
Uh-huh.
I was wounded in the legs. I jumped out to Redhead with me and let's run. It was all the same where to run. We ran out and lay down under the tank. It must have been about 6 o'clock in the evening. For 4 hours we were bombarded with drops from drones. Explosions and drones buzzing. We were shell-shocked many times, then everything calmed down. Around 2 o'clock in the morning, when everything was a little quiet, I heard people shouting to us, and that's it. And we were taken prisoner. They took me. I didn't even understand how they took me. I have already
Have you lost
regained
consciousness?
Yes. 2 grenades flew under the tank. It exploded. The first explosion really stunned me. The left ear is just coming to its sense. The ear only hears a little. That's it. That's it. Iron's machine gun is from 1974. It seems he didn't use it. Personally, I didn't even have time. The explosion jammed the gun. I couldn't even pull the trigger. I wouldn't press it, to be honest. And they flew under the tank. It turned out to be mined with mines. The damaging elements were in a flight carrier with cartridges pointed to the side's entrance under the tank. If it exploded, that would be the end. Here at the last arrival, which absolutely completely incapacitated me because I couldn't stand, I couldn't do anything. I don't know, the G1 cannon probably fired it. I was thrown out from under the tank. I feel someone pulling my hand. I don't know who it was. Either Ukrainian soldiers or one of us. Well, as they said later, the group commander died and was bombed. He seemed to sacrifice himself, as I understand it. That's it. They took me and brought me into the trench.
You were there when you were fighting this crying excitement, all these crazy people. They really saw that they were the ones fighting the Nazis here.
Maybe.
They fighting for some kind of truce.
Maybe.
And here we are, I don't even know what we're doing. Did you guys think at all that we were at home?
I thought about this all the time. I did not intend, I said, to fight. When I came here, I realized everything. I wanted to desert, but I was not given the opportunity. It was as if they had taken control of me. They didn't even let me out of the
Well,
house.
this, you can
To the
thank
store under
fate,
supervision.
as it were.
Yes, I am grateful, of course. But first of all, I am grateful to the 1st Assault Brigade that life was saved, the fact that they didn't shoot.
Why should you? Ours are not yours. We need to pull out our fighters. Why
That's
should
it, on
you?
the
Even this
29th,
one was brought here. They tried to bring him to his senses.
They
It didn't
took-
work.
that's all. That's how I ended up in the captivity.
We finally reached you. Tell a story. What, how, when did you mobilize? Why did you mobilize? Why did you sign the contract? What the goal?
Signed the contract in August 2. Financially difficult situation. Oil companies in Russia are rarely dying.
Oil company?
Yes.
Which one did you work in?
At Rusneft.
At Rosneft.
At Rusneft.
Russia.
Yes.
Either Rus?
Yes.
Are
Yes.
theirs different? Was it good to work before?
Yes, it was good before the war.
How much did you receive in salary before the war?
I had more than 36 subordinates. Everyone was happy.
It turns out that you are not just an ordinary employee. It turns out you still had subordinates.
Site mechanic.
Site mechanic. What city is this in?
In the Tomsk region.
In the Tomsk region. Is this an oil refinery?
Yes. Oil production.
Mining plant. So, what's it called?
Rusneft.
Does the plant have a separate name?
No, the plant does not.
Understood.
We're just pumping it
Just
out.
pump it out. That's it. I don't understand. So, and before, what was the salary before the war?
The prices were different, but it was good. It was happy with everything. Everyone was happy. And my drivers too. Everyone was happy. And then, little by little, eventually the reduction began.
So,
The staff was greatly reduced
so,
because supplies and oil decreased. Then it seemed like they agreed on something with someone. They started delivering, but cheaply. Again, some wells have been reactivated, but the payments didn't go up. People generally began to run and run. It was very difficult, and here it is.
In general, it was bad work at the plant.
Yes.
More precisely, it was badly paid? What there? Did you have any rivals?
In Tomsk, no, there was nothing.
Nothing?
No, this is Siberia.
Well, I also think far away.
There was nothing like that there. It was just... They just started... Previously, repairs were carried out by separate structures. They are all on us. Everything was put on us. The Crest Brigade worked.
So?
Since they had no money, the entire budget was spent on well repairs. If wages were increased by 5-10%, then all of this also went towards well repairs. Everyone is already so tired of it.
And what, is import substitution not working?
Nothing worked there.
Sure, okay. In general, it's understandable. Why did you go?
Financial difficulties.
To such an extent, are there financial difficulties? How much was your salary there?
70,000.
70. Well, 70, you can live with that.
No.
You can live in Baikal with this money.
There in Siberia, you cannot live on that amount.
I'll ask you differently.
And there was no second
I'll
job.
ask you differently. If you knew in advance everything that happens here, would you go?
Of course not.
So what? What would you do?
I would have sought something else.
So is it possible to think of something else?
Of course you can.
So not everything is like that. There is no way out, right? Is there any way out?
You can find something and come up with something. Initially, they told me that I would go into car repairs.
I know that they all tell you this. If you could ask, you would know that almost everyone says this. That they will either repair cars or be drivers or stand somewhere else. But they tell everyone this. Did you think it was here? Well, how did you imagine it? Well, you're a grown
I
man.
thought I wouldn't see this.
Well, what then? Well, this is war. There has been a real war for 2.5 years. Just a real war.
There are simply no words.
Well, what do you think?
I thought I'll be somewhere on the third line.
Uh-huh. In short, you voluntarily went for money. Do you understand correctly?
Yes, exactly.
Wife and children?
Yes,
How many?
2 children.
2 children. If they were left without a father, would you make it easier for someone? How old are you?
44.
44. My age. You once had a saying, without a king in your head.
Yes.
What day did you
Zombified.
sign a contract?
The 2nd of August
2nd
this
of
year.
August. What happened next?
10 days of training in Voronezh.
So?
Then a week in in Belutsk, but I could do anything there anymore. I seriously injured my knee. Then they sent on the 22nd to Kalmychka,
Well,
and there they waited. About 10 days. We were waiting for the exit to Stelmakova. We were the last group.
Stelmakovka.
3 people. The 3 of us moved out. It took 2 days. As soon as we reached the line of contact, the group leader was immediately wounded. They said on the radio that he would help himself. We were told to hide in the dugout. The 2 of us flew into the dugout with the penguin. Mortar started firing at him. It's exploded nearby and dropping shells. He's talking to someone on the radio there. I say, don't say that we are in the dugout. Just tell them we're somewhere about 100 meters from here. Well, he told him that we were landing. That's it. It immediately became quiet. You could hear them buzzing already there. Quickly ran out. The bags were grabbed and dived into the landing. And during the landing we moved and moved. Third, there was an order. Stand near the road, watch the road. Then everything changed. This road is not needed. Go to the house. Some other people were told to wait and go there. So, justice crossed onto the road. That's it. Everything is the same. Mortars, artillery, pistols, drones, weapons. The 2 of us with a guy. Here in the house, we sit and we can hear well. The first, second, third house was shelled with mortars. That they're already burning. Slate cracking, everything is cracking. These drones are flying towards us. The house we were in was hit by 2 kamikazes. They didn't burst. It's just luck. We waited until it calmed down for a while. We ran away. We're hiding again. Night, we spent the night. The vampire drone has arrived. It flew there 5 times to the place. They did drops. Then they say, go to some house again. Take a position there. In short, I definitely couldn't go anymore. Penguin couldn't walk either. Why couldn't he? I have knee damaged, one was in training. Then he says, yes, go bring food. Some of them are gone. So we brought them food together. But we never got to them. Mortars started firing at us. They dropped grenades, drones again, and we landed. Then 2 of us flew together with the penguin. This is how we sit. The drone buzzed. Up. Stop at buzzing. It fell. Didn't explode. That's it. We're leaving this landing for another place.
What about the rest of yours?
They were somewhere else. We didn't even get to them.
It's clear. In short, are you 2 really
Yes.
together?
That's how we hide from landing to landing.
Uh-huh.
Until it became completely dark, and then I see one landing is on fire. It's already dark. The greenish has even passed. It was already quite dark. It smokes. The ground is hot. I went there. So that I won't see because of such strong smoke. I was lying there. I had a machine gun right here next to my leg. Well, the drone arrives. Either I hit a branch or something else. The whole explosion. The machine gun was aimed at my leg, pretending wound. I feel like I'm wet. The machine gun is very hot. Everything was already damaged. I yell at this penguin, I'm hurt. I apply a tourniquet to myself.
Uh-huh.
I'm running away, looking for another landing. I'm hiding there. It's starting.
Where is your penguin?
He remained waiting. I'm distracted, but they still noticed me. I also told him not to move.
So is he still alive? Did he
No,
come with you?
then began to move when the drone flew in to finish me off. Everything fell on me there, both vampire and kamikaze.
And he started moving, so what?
That's it. He was bombarded with all kinds of drones. As a result, vampire arrived. And so the scouts say that he died.
The ones who took your prisoner.
Yes.
So how did you capture it?
And I was already walking. At first I stood up. I couldn't, my head was spinning. I lost a lot of blood. I am very thirsty. When I was lying down at night, I was so thirsty that I couldn't sleep. I imagined water everywhere. It's already getting brighter. I took off my body armor, took off my helmet, took off everything. I pulled out all the extra stuff from my pockets, tourniquets, even cigarettes. I see some house upstairs. I went there, walked the streets. Bottles of unfinished water lie along the streets. I started drinking from them. I started turning over garbage bags in houses. I started finding bottles there, drink from there. Lay down. I slept in the house for about 2 hours. I Remember that our people said that in Telmakovka there were only our position all around. I went out and walked through the streets shouting help, help. Want to have some position to come out. I'm watching. I also went in for landing. I'm on my way to boarding. I see some kind of trench. The hut is standing. Shots overhead, face down. They say hands behind your back. Tied up. That's all.
Got it. Do you think you're lucky to be alive?
Yes, they themselves said you're lucky.
What do you think?
Yes, lucky.